We've all heard of the fight or flight instinct, where when we are faced with a physical threat or emergency, our nervous system takes over and helps us to get through it. But the nervous system isn't that great at distinguishing between emotional and physical threats. So when we are under emotional pressure, our bodies respond in the same way as if it were a physical threat, equaling stress. This stress, while useful in many situations, can have some debilitating side effects, and more often than not, we are blissfully unaware that we are actually stressed. Additionally, the more our stress system is activated, the easier it becomes to trigger and the harder it becomes to turn off. When we are stressed, our nervous system releases stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, which tell the body it's time for emergency action. It also depletes our dopamine and serotonin levels. Our hearts beat faster, our muscles tighten, our blood pressure rises, and our breathing gets faster and shallower. These physiological changes make our senses stronger, and they increase our strength and stamina, which is often useful in an emergency situation and can even help with meeting that assignment deadline. But constantly being stressed can cause or even worsen things such as mental health, sleep, digestive and memory problems, pain, and a weakened immune system, among many other things. There are so many reasons that we get stressed. External reasons, such as school or work problems, and internal reasons, such as an uncontrollable worrying and pessimistic thoughts. A loss of control and uncertainty surrounding the future are all things that can make us very stressed. It's hard for many of us to accept uncertainty, and control is a psychological and biological human need. Music has heaps of regulatory effects on the body. It has unconscious physiological effects, where we might find ourselves breathing and moving in time with the music, and it has psychological effects through the emotional associations that our preferred music brings. Some research even shows that with that external steady cue for our bodies and brains to recognize and respond to, our hearts may even beat in time with the right music. These effects can be through both receptively listening to music or actively singing and playing along. Engaging in music can decrease adrenaline and cortisol levels and increase serotonin and dopamine levels. It can help us to regulate our breathing, which can lower our heart rate and blood pressure and release physical tension. Studies have shown that an ideal rate of controlled breathing is 6 breaths per minute. So if you were to choose a song with around either 48 or 96 beats per minute and breathe in time with the song, you would be close to 6 breaths per minute. An example of this is Queen's We Are the Champions, which sits at around 94 beats per minute. If you were to breathe in with the "We are the champions" and then out, "my friends," with that regulating pattern, it can help to reduce stress. While all of these elements that we've spoken about can have an effect on our stress levels, the best thing about music is the opportunities for well-being it brings about based on intent and context. Studies show that our music choices are a reflection of our identity, and that personal and meaningful associations to the music often have a greater impact than the musical elements. I think a really important point to stress here is the intent of the listening, as well as those past associations. There's no magic button where you can just click shuffle and then your stress is magically cured. But if you intend to use the advantages that engaging in music can offer in a thoughtful and considerate way, it can often have a great impact. Something else to keep in mind is that sometimes we want to listen to music to change our mood. For instance, we might choose to listen to something that calms us when we're feeling stressed. However, sometimes we prefer to listen to music that matches our current mood to reflect and acknowledge how we are feeling. Researchers refer to a process called emotional contagion, where you often mimic the emotional expression that you perceive in the music. When you are choosing music, try and keep in mind the reason for choosing it and the needs you have at that moment. If you do find yourself constantly listening to music that reflects your current mood, you could try curating your playlist so that you begin with music that matches and acknowledges your current state, but then slowly evolves until you reach your desired emotional state. For instance, If I were feeling really down, and I knew that getting up and having a dance around the room would be really good for me, but I just couldn't muster the motivation, I might create a playlist that begins with some slow and sad music, but gradually gets more upbeat until I'm finding myself dancing along without even realizing. Just don't forget about the intent behind the choices. It's so important.